Hello, baby doll, and welcome back to the Brennan Spears Show. Better weeks have only been had by Reagan and Genghis Khan, and we are ready to get into it. Some criticism of the show I got was that my voice isn't conversational enough. And let's be clear about something. This is a sermon. It is not a conversation. You can call it a monologue if you're determined to go to hell, but really this is where all the road dogs gather every week to hear the good word. Conversations happen later. COVID cases are in a free fall because the World Health Organization changed the PCR testing standard. So we don't have false positives showing up anymore. That's boring. We knew it was going to happen, and it did. Moving on. Mr. Potato Head is sexless. They just go by Potato Head now. So he's just like a potato, like a normal potato is, sexless. You guys remember Sling Blade? A Potato Head, or in those French fried taters? A potato head eating what his head is made out of. That was a great scene. One of Billy Bob Thornton's best scenes in a movie ever. But my point is that Potato Head is harmful to retards. And if you... The reason we have news stories like this is because we can't call things retarded anymore. Like, it used to be that we could just shout these stupid things down and they would disappear. But now we can't say that something's stupid and it doesn't deserve to be talked about. And so that's all our news is now. It sucks. They canceled Mr. Potato Head for being a white man because no one has the balls to mention that he has the intelligence of a potato. Potato Head is obviously slang for a moron. At least when he was Mr. Potato Head, he had a little bit of formality and a top hat to hide his retardation. The Potato Head factory should be burnt to the ground because it's offensive to potato heads and to the Irish. I did find out a fun thing this last week. And it said, when settlers arrived in the New World, the first thing the English built was a church. The first thing the Germans built was a barn. And the first thing that the Scotch-Irish built was a whiskey still. And I just thought that was an interesting comment on where a lot of stereotypes come from. Okay, from ZeroHedge.com. Toy giant Hasbro has announced that Mr. Potato Head will become gender-neutral Potato Head in order to encourage kids to create same-sex families. Kids want to be able to represent their own experiences. The way the brand currently exists with the Mr. and Mrs. is limiting when it comes to both gender identity and family structure. Now, let me be clear about this. No one is doing anything with any Mr. Potato Head. According to the report, the move is a bid to stay relevant in the 21st century while challenging heteronormative narratives. This is an advertisement. You guys realize that, right? Hey, do you guys remember Mr. Potato Head? Yeah, it's one of the most boring toys in history, sure. He would get hit in those Toy Story movies and all of his parts would go scattering everywhere, and that was kind of funny for children, I think. Yeah, that's the one. Well, he sucks dicks now. What are you talking about? The tuber isn't even the part of the plant that has to do with pollination. Yeah, right, bigot. Or whatever word they're using now so they can avoid having to have a conversation with you. Has any one single person on the planet ever had more than one Mr. Potato Head? Family units? Like, this is just another fake and gay attempt for people to keep their products relevant. And I use gay in the traditional usage, meaning lame. It's just boring and a lazy way to get people talking about their bullshit product. But the part that scares me is that two crazy people actually went out and bought a Potato Head this week. We all have to support our genderless heroes like us by giving all of our money to a huge corporation that used to innovate and now just panders to separate morons from their currency. That's how boring these people are. That everything is about perversion and degeneracy. Like, I've dabbled in the dark arts. I'm not a stranger to it. But is there anything more disgusting than talking about it in the light of day? But everyone's a hack now. But it got us away from talking about the Fed doubling the amount of the cash that was in existence and what's going to happen when inflation ends up hitting the fan. I read a great tweet this week, and it was the greatest trick the Fed ever told was trying to convince you that you needed a $15 minimum wage without ever mentioning why $7 was no longer sufficient. And it's because of inflation. But so we weren't talking about the Fed. Instead, we were talking about an obsolete toys free choice to twerk its ass around at a pride parade. Maybe next week they can announce that he's starting to suck cock for crack rocks. Mr. Potato Head's butt used to be for storage of his costume changes, but now it's just for storing dick. Man, this culture is so lame. Like, things are only allowed to exist if they are a vehicle for propaganda. And if it doesn't further the agenda, they delete it from history. They have about 10 years of this shit left, I think. Maybe less, but I cannot wait for it to come crashing down. But this is what we're degraded to in a post-Trump world. Talking about whether or not a potato went gay for pay. At least it seemed like things... When Trump was in office, at least there seemed to be some stakes to what was going on in the world. This just, it means nothing. It's, who cares? Who cares? Meghan Markle lied to Oprah for 2 hours last night. And now the only thing women are talking about today is how brave she is for being such an asshole to the royal family that they banned her from being in their presence. Slay Queen. The Cubs and the White Sox are going to allow 20% capacity on opening day, but they're going to keep lines shorter and make sure that everyone has to wear a mask at all times. What a nightmare. How are you going to keep 400 drunk men from having to pee at once during the 7th inning stretch? You're not. But to make sure that they're going to be safe, it's important that they have to wear a mask in a bathroom where 90% of the humidity in the air comes from a piss trough. And then you have to wear that dirty diaper for the next 3 hours. So good job, Lori Lightfoot, on getting us back to normal. The new normal. Well, that's what we got for today. Another show probably later this week. Drive fast and take chances.